Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Nick Mohammed about Ted Lasso on Apple TV+. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, I'm so excited to chat with you. I mean, you know, you're on a show that's been described as a warm hug, right? I feel like that's a pretty cool way to describe Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly overall, it is a warm hug. I would say, you know, notwithstanding Nate, there are some moments which are not a warm hug. But yeah, overall, sure.
Nate's the guy who just comes in and kind of blocks the hug, right?
Yeah, at the end of season 2 for sure.
At the end of season 2. So my question is, one of my favorite things about shows like Ted Lasso is the kind of tale of two shows a little bit, where it's about sports, but in the other regard, things that's not about sports. Did you kind of realize that early on, starting season 1, that kind of tag team a little bit?
A little bit. I mean, I think, you know, when I think I got sent maybe the first 3 episodes when I went up to audition for the part. And so it was very clear that whilst on the face of it, it was about, you know, it was a sports show and it was about this guy who kind of comes over and, you know, there's a bit of a culture clash between sort of him and this sort of British institution, which is Premiership football. It was very clear almost from the off that, oh, actually, there are plenty of characters in here who are going on lots of journeys in various directions, and that actually the heart and soul of this isn't really about football, even though football is a great sort of backdrop for you know, everything that we learn. But yeah, it was undoubtedly, you know, it leapt off the page that it was more than just a sports show. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are saying, like, you know, if you're not a big sports fan, you'll enjoy Ted Lasso, and I think that was a big narrative going into season 2, like that it was like a sports show, but you didn't have to like sports to watch it, which is huge, because the writing is just so good. Like, it's such a good show written wise. I'm really curious because Nate, it's just amazing what kind of happened in season 2 and everything. For you specifically, how much did you know in advance about the transformation and the growth of Nate for season 2? Did you know in advance?
I did actually. Okay. I feel very lucky that I did, because it did inform certain things earlier on in filming. I mean, I very distinctly remember when Jason sort of laid it out. And, you know, this was even before seasons 2 and 3 were commissioned. We were filming season 1 stuff. It was quite early on in season 1 filming. And Jason outlined, you know, if we get picked up, this is roughly the 3-season arc for Nate. So broadly speaking, yes, I obviously didn't know all the details until a lot nearer the time. But yeah, and, you know, they certainly were true to their word in terms of it being the kind of the Empire Strikes Back season for Nate, as far as he's concerned. And by God, did they deliver on that.
Because we got a little bit of like, it's like a little bit of like an origin villain story with Nate.
Yeah, sure.
Like, it's going to be, I feel like that's overwhelming for an actor. Like, how did you kind of prepare for that kind of switch, and just knowing that, you know, he was working with the team, he was becoming a fan favorite, he was Ted's guy, and then boom, like instant villain. Like, how do you prepare for that?
I think it was, I mean, you know, listen, it's all the writing, really.
Yeah.
They managed to seed so many little things along the way. And, you know, particularly season 2, you can sort of chart that downfall bit by bit. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was obviously important to kind of highlight those moments. And some of them are, or quite a lot of them are dialogue free, actually. Yeah. They're just little looks here and there and stuff. But, you know, I have tons of support, you know, the creators of that show and the directors, you know, all kind of on set pretty much all the time. And so we were able to discuss why things are going to be important for, you know, either the next episode or why this is setting something up for later, you know, for later on. So as much as it was a big heel turn, I think that the way they managed to really stealthily kind of sort of drip feed it out across those 12 episodes was really masterful of them. And, you know, I just felt very lucky to be playing. And, you know, as a challenge, as an actor, you kind of relish that challenge.
Yeah.
Can you effectively manipulate your audience in that way?
Were you hoping, because there are some episodes with Nate where you think maybe he's gonna, like, he's on the brink of kind of crossing everyone, and then maybe he'll come back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was that exciting to kind of see that? Because like Ted Lasso, every week a new episode dropped, right? So like certain episodes, there were kind of these like, what's happening with Nate? Like, is he gonna turn like heel basically, or is he gonna come back? It was cool to see those kind of discussions online too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, completely. And obviously, and I can't say too much on this just because we're in the middle of season 3 filming, but very much at the end of season 2, when the finale dropped, there was a lot of discussion as to, I think, well, has Nate, overstepped the mark? Has he gone too far to the dark side, as it were, for him to be redeemed? And, I genuinely can't comment on that either way. But all I can say is that I think it was important to sort of, particularly in those middling episodes, sort of 5 to 10, I guess, really, when Nate is absolutely treading this fine line of having got a little bit more responsibility, a little bit of ego. You can see sort of like kind of checking in with him as he's sort of scrolling through Twitter. And I think as an audience, you are kind of curious as to which way he's going to turn. And then, steadily we do see him make sort of wrong decision after wrong decision. And I think absolutely cumulative effects. I always try and pinpoint the exact point when I think it's sort of game over for him. And I think it's probably when Rupert whispers in his ear at the end of episode 10, the funeral episode. I think it's sort of then that he plants that seed of, you don't have to stay at Richmond. I don't know what Rupert said. I know what Anthony said, but I don't know what Rupert
and you know what? That was one of those moments too, where it's funny. I saw someone talk about that. There's a lot of fan groups for Ted Lasso, right? So they're all talking about things. Someone mentioned that, like the funeral scene. And I was like, I don't remember. I forgot that. You know what I mean? Like going back, because there's so much happening.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 seconds. You can't, sort of blink and you miss it, but it's very important. It's a very important moment for Nate.
I feel like your answer to this question is going to be immediately like when you started getting on set for season 1 with everyone. But like Ted Lasso has been a massive global hit. It's taken the world by storm. It's helped so many people. There's been so many kind of moments where it kind of seems like it spikes with like popularity and buzz with like the Emmys and the records on Apple TV and everything. When did you officially notice that, like, what was the moment where you're like, yeah, I'm part of something really special? Was it early on, even before a lot of the accolades? Like, I'm curious about that.
I think it was. I think you're naturally, when you get sent the script and you read it, I think we all knew that this was good and it felt like it was something different and something quite refreshing. There'd been quite a lot of quite sort of snarky and cynical comedies sort of saturating that area. So this felt like it was bucking the trends already, irrespective of any of the kind of awards noise, which you definitely don't ever think about. You always want your show to do well and you want it to resonate with an audience and find an audience, but you can never make a show sort of thinking, well, we're making this so we can win awards or anticipating that, because I think that would
absolutely
so unhelpful.
But congratulations, by the way. Like,
oh goodness me! I mean, it's not my doing; it's their doing. The creators and writers of that show. But I think when we finished filming season 1, I think we knew. I remember we finished filming season 1 in like mid-November in the UK, and it was in the middle of the night as well. It was quite cold and wet. And I remember Jason just sort of doing a kind of quite Ted-like speech to all of us, sort of thanking us and being really humble and gracious as he is. And I think in that moment we were super bonded as a group, and I think we thought this is a really lovely thing, and we really hope that it resonates with an audience. And then bit by bit it did. So yeah.
Was it cool as well to see, because it was a show that really started taking off? Because during the pandemic, the season 1 was like what all the episodes dropped on Apple TV, right? But then around kind of Christmas time, people were kind of going back and like watching it. What was that reception like, talking to, the cast and crew about how instantly it started kind of resonating with people a couple of months after it like first aired for season 1? Because like it took some people a little bit to kind of finally watch it.
Yeah, sure. And particularly in the UK, because I think Apple TV was less ubiquitous than in the States. I mean, now it's, nearly everyone has it, but it did take a while to catch up with the States. And it was strange because I think I remember my first sort of appreciation of like, oh, this is really catching on was when we started filming season 2, which must have been at the start of 2021, when, we were filming during COVID times, lockdown, so there was no socializing, but we were all sort of aware of this sort of awards noise because it was, I guess, awards season, but we were kind of like, we can't really celebrate this, and it feels weird to be celebrating it anyway. And we're all sort of just getting over, having been in lockdown and things like that. So it was a strange old time, actually. And obviously, we felt grateful to be working. And we had a great COVID team sort of looking after us and protecting us and all kinds of stuff. But also just that we'd created a show that I think people, did particularly fall for because of those themes of optimism and hope, which I think a lot of people really responded to during lockdown and the pandemic, regardless of what, everyone was going through various difficult times.
You needed a show like that to help a lot of people. I've seen a lot of posts, people saying like the show took me through really dark times and like helped me through a lot of dark times, which is amazing. I mean, that's so what it's for, right? That's the best, right? That's what storytelling is. Yeah,
completely. I mean, that's an incredible position of privilege, really. And there is a sense of pressure now in terms of season 2 and then season 3 as well, because I think that people did respond to it in such a hearty way that we want to reward that fan base and make sure that people, look at it just as fondly. And, we're, all I can say is that we're working super hard on season 3, of course.
Well, I mean, and this is not anything about details or anything, but just in regards to season 3, for you specifically, because, if you talk to Jason or someone else like Brandon, there's different mindsets. But like for you, I mean, is it a combination of just like continuing the storylines, or is it also a combination of like, okay, how are we going to up this and make it better? Because that's the whole point. When a show gets a new season, Nick, you want to make it better than the first, right? So is it a little bit of both, kind of like continuing on where we left off and making it better? Is that what happens?
I think so. I mean, I'm not privy to the writers' room, but undoubtedly it's the same, same cast, same crew. Everyone wants to deliver. The more we hear about the show doing well, and it really does sort of empower you to just want to deliver even more. And, especially a third season, who knows whether it's the last one or not? I genuinely don't know, but you always want to kind of feel like you're, slightly up in the ante compared to the last one. And I mean, of course, we know, as far as Nate's concerned, we're very aware that we're in the middle of his journey because, the way season 2 ended. So there is very much a to be continued element to his side of things, but to everyone really, I mean, there are plenty of twists and surprises along the way, and we're only sort of midway through filming, a bit past midway now.
There's so many shows based on like fictional like teams and bands, but like this is one of those shows like you really feel like Richmond's a real team. You really feel like Jimmy Tart and Roy Kent were real football players. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so great. Nick, thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat about Ted Lasso.
Thank
I really
you so
appreciate
much
it.
for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Take care.
And you know what? We'll watch season 3 when it comes out.
Brilliant stuff.
Well, this
Thank
has been
you.
Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Nick Mohammed, who plays Nate in Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus, and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.